How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Éire. My name is Ben. In this video we're going to take a look at the 2024 NX500 and we're going to compare it with the old CB500X, which it replaces. I'm more interested to find out if it's more of the same or if the NX500 is going to give you a new riding experience. So in this video we're going to have a look at its key features. We're also going to do some technical comparisons, and I'll give you my verdict at the end of the video. So stick around, please like the video, let me know if there's any comments down below, and of course subscribe if this is the sort of content you like. So let's get started, and we're going to take a look at the design of the NX500. Right, if we look at the design of the NX500, definitely has that crossover adventure style that we're used to in the Transalp and the Africa Twin. A very attractive looking bike, looks very clean. I like the profiles, the fairings look nice, a little short on the front. Likewise, nice integration with the LED headlamp and the windshield. I think overall a very attractive looking bike. The old CB500X, great looking machine compared to the older designs, but I like where they're going with this, and for me it's going to be really interesting to see how this design progresses as the years go on. The CB500X, also a really nice design, still very clean. Maybe looking its age, I don't know. You need to let me know down below what you think. Do you think the bike is looking its age, the CB500X? I like the integration. It certainly blends well with the plastics, the frame, engine. Everything looks kind of well balanced, even the exhaust system. The integration of the headlight looks fairly decent as well, and the windshield as well incorporated into it. Certainly looks well. I like the gold color forks, something you don't really see on the NX500, but it's still a very attractive bike that you can look at buying used. Right, let's look at some key features for the NX500. So what we are going to expect is obviously sharp new adventure styling. That is blatantly clear. We've also got a new LED headlights, new tail light cluster as well. So the headlight kind of follows the same design as the Transalp. I don't know if you guys had a look at the Transalp, but you'll see the headlight looks very similar. There's also the new 5-inch color TFT display, and that incorporates Honda's road sync, something that the CB500X didn't have. And obviously allows smartphone connection. Obviously the switchgear has been improved as well. They've kept it nice and simple, and of course it's backlit for nighttime as well, which I think is really awesome. We move along to the chassis. We've got 41mm Showa forks, so again that pretty much carries over from the CB500X. And obviously they've kind of retuned the forks and the rear shock as well for the newer bike. New lighter wheels have obviously reduced a bit of weight there on the wheels, always a good sign. The dual disc brakes on the front, big fan of. I like the dual disc brakes, and it's good to see it on a smaller bike. Slightly smaller at 296mm, they're about 310 on the CB500X, so they've probably done that to shave off some weight. The twin-cylinder power plant as well also features new Honda selectable torque control, which was not available on the old bike. So that's great to see. So you've got some traction control there if you need to. And of course they've improved the engine slightly as well, so for improvements on low RPM acceleration and power delivery, which is also great compared to the older bike. You also get the assist slipper clutch as well for easy upshifts. Right, let's look at the power plant. It shares the same engine, so the CB500X and the NX500 have the same motor. 471cc parallel twin, develops 35 kilowatts. I'll put the brake horsepower on screen, and 43 Newton meters as well, so fairly decent. The fuel tank capacity is 17.5 litres on the NX500, slightly bigger on the CB500X at 17.7 litres. Fuel consumption is 3.6 litres per 100 on the NX500, which is roughly about 27.8 Ks per litre, so that's something to consider, definitely fuel consumption wise. On the CB500X, it's 28.6 kilometers per litre, which is 3.5 litres per 100 kilometers. So a few other technical details to know. The curb weight on the NX500 is 196 kilograms. That's 3 kilograms less when compared to the CB500X. Another thing, ground clearance is 180 millimeters. Seat height is 830 millimeters, the same as the CB500X. Another thing to note, the suspension travel on the NX500 and the CB500X is identical at 150 millimeters on the front and 135 millimeters on the rear. Now, the rear for me is rather interesting. It would have been nice to have seen them kind of balance it out a bit, maybe make 150 on the rear and 150 on the front. But I just find it really odd that they put 135 on the rear, where some competitors have a lot more rear suspension travel. So don't be expecting to do too much major off-roading with this bike. Here are 4 changes that I believe make the NX500 a better bike over the CB500X. First of all, aerodynamics. The NX500 has improved aerodynamics to improve stability at speed. A major influence on the way bikes ride. Tuning for the suspension, basically the big piston front forks and the rear shock have been fine-tuned to improve the comfort of the ride. Also a big factor. The NX500 has Honda's selectable torque control, which the CB500X didn't have. This would make such a big difference. Your traction control system is vital pretty much on any bike to improve its handling performance. And the NX500 is definitely going to benefit from that. The fuel injection system has been improved, in a way that at low RPM, the acceleration and power delivery has been drastically improved. So something that is that you notice over the old CB500 is definitely that low pull-off. It's definitely a lot better on the NX500. We're going to look at the switchgear now. The switchgear on the NX500 is just superb. They've tidied it up a bit, they've improved the quality of it, and on top of that, they've got backlit lighting for your controls. So they really do, they're slightly lit up at night. It's not too strong. I think that's a nice touch. Certainly adds to the quality perspective of the Honda motorcycles. So the backlit technology not available on the CB500X, but very nicely, the button quality is definitely improved. The CB500X, still very attractive looking place to be. The buttons and switchgear is fine. Obviously they've improved it now slightly, so they've tidied it up. But I think overall, if you're looking at it from a user perspective, it's got good looking switchgear. Certainly nothing to detract from it. But the NX500 just has that extra bit of touch of quality to it. Right, the next part is the TFT display. So we've got a 5-inch TFT display on the NX500, and of course we can now integrate Honda's Sync software as well. So what that means is you'll be able to activate navigation, smartphone settings through the screen here on the NX500. It's a very attractive looking screen. You can set the brightness on it. I think it looks very nice. It's got that sort of black frame around it. It's not going to be difficult to not see any of the buttons, any of the features. I think it looks very nice, and of course it's recessed nicely into the dash of the bike. The Honda CB500X dash and TFT display still looks very good. Obviously doesn't have the Honda Sync tech in it, but it's still a very attractive place to be, and it is recessed into the dash there, yet slightly different, but I think overall it's still very attractive. For the price of the bike, I think Honda have looked at that, because that's pretty much where you're going to be when you're sitting on the bike. That's what you're going to see directly in front of you. I think it works. Nothing to detract away from it. It looks fairly decent. The quality's good. You can be sure to check out my CB500X video, and I'll leave a link at the end screen when I had a look at this bike last year. Right, we move on to pricing. So if you look at the NX500 on the Irish market, it's being introduced at $8,999. And don't forget that it does have a little bit more equipment than the old CB500X did. Now the CB500X at the end there was being sold for $8,799. So effectively for €200 more, you're getting a few more tweaks and you're getting some new kit. The Honda Sync, I think, is a big one. And of course, you've got the traction control, something that the CB500X didn't have. So I think for that €200, I think it's pretty good and fair. Okay, we've come to my verdict. Now, earlier on, I had said, is the NX500 more of the same, or is it going to offer you a new riding experience? Now, first of all, the CB500X was a fantastic bike. Been on the market 10 years. Everybody loved it, whoever had them. Offered you, really good touring capability at low money. The NX500 has a lot of much of the same technology that the CB500 has. So from that perspective, it's certainly, they've carried a lot of stuff over. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The CB500X had great technology in it for its time. Obviously, one of the major differences here is you've got a lot more tuning. It's like they've taken the CB500X, redesigned it to align it closer to the existing Honda bikes that we see. Like, for instance, the Honda Transalp is a really good example. And then they've added extra stuff into it, which is stuff people want. People want electronics, so like the torque control. Is another good one. You've got Honda Sync as well, so people can pair up their phones. Like, this is the stuff that they didn't necessarily worry about previously, but now have to, because that market is now changing. And when I say is it going to offer you a new riding experience? Yes, it is going to offer you a new riding experience. If I look at the stuff they've done, they've tuned the engine, they've tuned the suspension. You've got the traction control on it. You've got the Honda Sync now as well, so you'll be able to have more information displayed on screen, stuff that you couldn't do with the CB500X. All of that together is going to amalgamate into a really good, well-balanced bike. And I mean, they've improved the aerodynamics of the bike as well over the other one. So that's another thing they've looked at, is high-speed stability. So if we took both bikes and took them out, you definitely get the feeling that the NX500 was a lot more stable and definitely felt better on the road over the CB500X. I'm not saying the CB500X is bad, but you're definitely going to see that difference. So yes, it is more of the same, but it is going to give you a much better riding experience over the CB500X.